You are maidenless.
I offer you an accord.
Fellow Elden Ring enjoyers, welcome! Thanks for stopping by. I made some pancakes for you. You saw the title, you know what's going on here. Envoy Horns. I want to see if I can beat Elden Ring using just these weapons. Now, normally this wouldn't be that big of a feat. Other YouTubers have done this before, but me, I have never beaten Elden Ring before. I've played it, never beaten it. So I want to see if I can beat Elden Ring using these bubbles. Now, what's the rules of engagement for this? Number 1. I need to use bubbles and their weapons only. Now, what does that mean? That means Envoy Horns only, and whatever else I decide is a bubble. Listen up, my fellow gamers. This was rough. Before we jump into this, I need to give you a warning. I am not good at this game. You might die of cringe watching me play this game. So with that, let's head to Limgrave.
I offer you an accord.
After picking up my new Honda Accord, it's time to go farm some runes. To get the most amount of runes without having a weapon, I decided to go for the Knight's Cavalry cheese, which went about as well as I thought it would have. With those runes, I was able to get to level 27, putting most of my points into Faith and Vigor. And since I'm already in the area, you already know what I'm picking up. Good old Faithful. Next on the docket, I needed my Bubble Boys. Now to get to them, I had to go all the way down at the bottom of the map to the Tower of Return to open a trap chest, which will teleport me all the way to the Divine Bridge in Leyndell. And right off rip, we run into our first problem. Normally, there's an elevator here that'll go up and down, and you can go in and out of Leyndell without any problem. In the late game, that is. But unfortunately, since I'm not in the late game and I need a weapon, we gotta find a way to get down without dying. So, after some research, our first option is we invite an invader. If we invite an invader to this area, they will spawn below the elevator, and all I have to do is convince someone not to kill me as they're coming up and just let me move on with my run. Unfortunately, no such luck came. After about 45 minutes, I kind of just gave up on this idea. Okay, no worries. Still got 2 more options. Moving on to option 2, realm warping between the Perfumer's Grotto in the Altus Plateau and the Divine Bridge. So, after picking up both halves of the Dectus Medallion, riding from the Weeping Peninsula all the way to the Altus Plateau Bridge, activating the bridge, going from the bridge to the Perfumer's Grotto, I was finally able to give it a shot. And after about 5 attempts, I found out that it doesn't work. To which I would have found out earlier if I had just checked the newest comments on the video that I saw. But no, I didn't. Okay. Option 3. At this point, a couple hours have passed by, and I was getting very unsure that I was even going to be able to complete this run. But thankfully, we had one last option. And I'll be honest, I'm not quite sure how the mechanics on this one work, but I was willing to try literally anything at this point. So, how does this method work, you might be asking? Well, it involves gravity, a cracked crystal tear, and killing this Erdtree avatar, which involved me grabbing a certain Scarlet Rot inflicting Bubble Buddy. Once our little bubble dog friend inflicted Scarlet Rot on the Erdtree, life was easy. All I had to do was run around him until he died. Then we got the crystal tear.
Wee woo, invalid Rud. You didn't use a bubble to kill him.
Oh, you caught me. That's okay. I'm gonna throw up a little invalid counter for you. Back to the bridge. So, here's how this is supposed to work. I stand really close to the edge of this, drink my flask as I'm walking off, and the explosion, right before I hit the ground, will stop my fall, keeping me somewhat alive at the bottom. Unfortunately, that's not really how it worked out for a very long time. But then finally, after trying to get down this elevator for close to 4 or 5 hours, this finally happened. Okay, come on. This is taking too long. Yep, move forward a little bit. Come on, here we go. Here we go. And Finally, after coming down from the high of sticking that landing, it was time to go look for our dang weapons. Now, as I was running around in Leyndell, still super excited that I was even here, I noticed these guys. These were the guys that had one of the 3 weapons that we needed. Since I still did not have a weapon, I was honestly at a loss for how I was even going to farm these guys. But then, as I was running by, I had an idea. I remembered some enemies can damage each other, and I wanted to see if this was the case with these guys. And thanks to the gargoyle, I think we found our new farming spot. This playthrough was saved. Even though we had made it to this point, the grind still was not over, because this weapon had a 2% drop rate, which means at the end of the day, I could still never see this weapon. But thankfully, after about 30 minutes to an hour, this happened. We got it, baby! After about like 6 freaking hours of grinding, trying to figure out how to get this stupid weapon, even one is all I need. Ooh, and we got it! After finally getting this weapon, I found some new drip, leveled up a little bit more. I was feeling good! With that,
Foul tarnished.
nope. Still not ready. Alrighty then, looks like it's time to keep adventuring. While wandering Leyndell, I happened to find my way to this enemy, who happened to have the next horn that I needed. Thankfully, it was pretty easy to farm, and I got it after a few tries. Now, getting both the envoy horns, I was feeling pretty good about myself, so decided to test it out with Morgott. And almost nothing changed, so time to go keep upgrading. To do this, I killed this lady and Kaled to get the Sacred Scorpion charm. Also, while I was out, I picked up the Opaline Bubble Tier to keep on theme. I also went just a bit north of Lake Liurnia to Master EG to bring my Longhorn up to a +6. Thank you, Master EG, you're doing God's work. Much appreciated. And thankfully, after the upgrades, those bubbles were finally putting in that work. Just like that, Morgott's down, baby. Godric next. Thankfully, Godric was fairly easy. With his long telegraphed attacks and massive hitbox, these bubbles more or less just tore him to shreds. After these 2 boss kills, it was on to Raya Lucaria, but I needed the key first, and just to test out the damage on such a big boss, I wanted to see how fast I could kill this dragon. And these bubbles did not disappoint. Next boss in line, the Red Rat of Rahdan. This dude honestly gave me a little bit of trouble. With the way he was moving around and his magic hitting me every time I sat still, even though my damage was pretty good, just his whole arsenal gave me a problem. But we did eventually get him. The next boss in this boss rush was Renala, and her first phase was brain dead easy. I mean, look at this. Bop, bop, bop. Renala's second phase was slightly harder, having to avoid crazy projectiles that I hadn't really seen before, and her spirit summons towards her second half of the fight made for a slightly difficult fight, but thankfully the bubbles and this longhorn were putting in that mad damage. We were able to take her out in 3 tries. Now it should be noted, unfortunately for me, Renala marked the last of the easy bosses. Now me not quite understanding that Renala was handing out participation awards, I took my cocky little butt all the way to Rahdan. This boy is extra thick! And with my bubbles doing as much damage as they are, I thought I could take Rahdan out easy. And unfortunately for me, I found out that Rahdan was packing some mad cheekage. And about 7 attempts later, it was clear I was not going to beat him in the current state that I was. So, you already know what we gotta do. It's level up time. For leveling up, I decided to hit the Sleeping Dragon over in Caelid. And even though I didn't have a bleed build, or any sort of bleed weapon, because the Sleeping Dragon's hitbox was so big, the bubbles did maximum damage.
Nice.
Unfortunately, 75k wasn't enough. So, in an attempt to unlock a better farming spot, we completed the White Mask's questline, which gave us access to Mohg's Palace, which, if you don't already know, has some of the best farming spots in the entire game. And after spending a few hours here, I was able to get myself to level 59 and get my Longhorn to level 10. And finally, it was round 2 of Rahdan, baby. Personally, I was pretty proud of this progress. Going from not even getting him to half health to almost one-phasing him before he jumps, I was pretty proud of this.
Yeah?
Thankfully, he missed me with that last move, and in 9 attempts, we were able to knock him out. Unfortunately, with Rahdan's defeat, there came a sacrifice.
No. Wait.
After the unfortunate loss of our warrior jar friend Alexander, I headed into Nokron, the Eternal City, where I picked up both of the bubble spells. I don't really end up using them a ton this run, but I felt I needed them. Next up on our boss list was Golden Godfrey, located here on the map. And just like Rahdan, he also gave me trouble. This was a fun fight. Godfrey was intimidating, he hit super hard, and he was all over the place. And even though it took me a little while to get his moveset down, I still had a blast. Unlike Rahdan, my damage was there. This fight was hard because I didn't know Godfrey that well. But after persisting for a while, I was able to get him. And after leveling up to level 65, it was Morgott time.
Felled by King Morgott, last of all kings.
Yes! Oh my gosh! Oh, thank you. Oh my. Oh man, I'm so tired of this. Oh. Man, he was kind of easy. Spoiler warning, this guy was not easy. I had a horrible time fighting this guy. I'm not 100% about this, but I'm pretty sure I was underleveled for this guy. And even though my horn was a plus 10, I don't think I had the right equipment to face this guy either. He was all over the place, his moves hit like a freaking tank, and it took me a very long time to figure out his punish window, but his theme was pretty hype. Listen to this. So, how was I going to beat this guy? Obviously, there was a skill issue, but were there also some items out there that could help me with this? Well, the answer was yes. After taking a good look at what I had, I did notice a few problems. 1, I wasn't using any magic up to this point. 2, I only had 3 talismans instead of the 4 slots that I actually had open. And the third thing I noticed was my wondrous flask. I only had 1 teardrop in it. this whole time. Now, none of these things separately would really change this fight all that much, but I was already at a pretty low point getting bullied by this guy for so long. I figured, might as well give it a shot. I started my journey of getting stronger at the Court Stench Shack, picking up the golden bell located here, right on the map. This would give me an increased attack and defense for about a minute and a half, which I felt I needed desperately. Next, I made my way back to Leyndell to bully this Draconic Tree Sentinel, just for a confidence booster. After the Tree Sentinel, I stumbled across this guy and honestly thought this fight was funny because of how quick he died. You poor thing, man. Bro just got one tapped. To fill my next talisman slot, I came to the Purified Runes, right next to the Lake of Liurnia, to pick up the 2-finger heirloom to give me a +5 to faith. Now, to fix my wondrous flask problem, I decided to come here on the map to pick up the Faith Knot Crystal, which, when I drink my mixed flask, it'll give me a temporary boost to faith. Now finally, was all my grinding and searching enough for me to beat Morgott? Well, you'll just have to find out. No, of course it's not going to change anything, you dummy. Did you see how many times I mistimed my roll there? No. This was clearly a skill issue. So, how do we fix skill issues? Getting good. So, I spent the next few hours taking my time, watching when I could attack, and rolling when I needed to. And even though I still died a lot, I was getting closer. In previous Souls games, the way I could tell that I was beating a boss correctly is if each attempt their health bar would get lower and lower. That means I was doing better. And eventually, I stopped going from dying at a quarter of his health to dying at the last quarter of his health. And holy crap, after 27 attempts, I finally got him. Morgott was down, baby. And that was one of the first fights of this entire playthrough that I felt like I legitimately earned and didn't just level up into winning. Overall, amazing fight. Next on the list was the Consecrated Snowfields to Castle Sol, because earlier in the run, I had picked up half of the Halig Tree Medallion, and this castle had the other half. Oh, unfortunately, it also had Captain Nile, which I didn't know about. And because I was so burnt out from fighting bosses from freaking Morgott, I had decided I had had enough of him. So, if you didn't already know this, Captain Nile is actually one of the few bosses that you can cheese. Pretty easily, too. All you have to do, follow the path that I'm taking, and just jump off this cliff back here while swinging repeatedly. And after about a minute of doing so, you'll notice everything here disappearing, and soon after that, he'll be dead. These bubbles are coming in real clutch, am I right? So, got the other half of the medallion, lifted that boy up, and we were on to the Halig Tree. After getting my fill of the average Halig Tree experience, I figured it was time to go pick up a summon, the Oracle Envoy summon, which they're not great, I know, I just think it'd be funny to have them along. After that I picked up the Oracle Envoy helmet, which does actually increase the potency of my bubbles. So, there's a real build here. I also picked up this chess piece here in Leyndell to give myself a +1 to faith, but gosh dang am I looking good! Here's what I'm rocking so far. I'm at level 79, I've got the Envoy Horn and the Envoy Longhorn, I've got the Oracle Helmet, and whatever the heck the other stuff is. And as for talismans, I felt like I was doing pretty good. You already know it's Fire Giant time, and thanks to my squad, we knocked this dude out so fast. Look at that. Liggity split. You already know, next up is barbecue time. Let's cook some treat. Uh-oh, guess who's next? Godskin Duo, or should I say Sleepy Boy Duo. Yeah, that's right, I've heard the rumors, I've seen the videos. Ain't no way I'm fighting these guys with this loadout. I don't care how much damage I'm doing to these bozos. When I'm attacking them, they gonna be schnoozing. And after running out of a few Sleepy Boy pots, I thankfully clutched it.
Hi! Oh god damn it! How are you doing?
And after Skinny Boy had his fun with me, it was Maliketh time. And oh gosh, Maliketh was horrible. Fighting Maliketh with this build was the worst experience I have ever had in any boss fight ever. Now, the utmost astute observers will notice that that was not 95 deaths, that was 80 deaths. The reason I'm only showing you 80 deaths instead of all 95 is because I didn't record all 95. Some of them, I just got so mad I just didn't record it. A 6-hour fight would do that to a person. So though I didn't keep count, I'm fairly certain I got more than 95 deaths, but I'm gonna err on the side of caution and say 95. Now going into this fight, I knew it was going to be hard. Not only was Maliketh just a hard boss in general, he also has one of the highest holy damage resistances out of any boss in the game. And guess whose entire build uses holy damage? This guy. So I knew going into this was going to be a slog. I just didn't know how bad of a slog it was going to be. So, how did we kill him? Before we talk about how we beat him, let's talk about how I didn't beat him. Because I ended up using a ton of different items throughout these fights and changed up my strategy a ton of different ways. So, let's go over how that went. Now, I entered the fight with this build, and what I realized very quickly was that I had 2 talismans that was increasing the amount of damage I took. Not only were the talismans increasing the damage I took, I actually ended up picking up the Howl of Shabriri, which I found out later also increases the damage I take. And even though I was taking an excess amount of damage, the damage I was doing was also pretty significant.
Oh no!
And I figured, why not just respec? I'll put a little bit more into strength, some more into mind and vigor, and let's just see what happens. And after respecking 2 more times, I came to the conclusion that the damage I was doing really was not worth the damage I was taking. It was time to make a switch. So I decided to capitalize on Maliketh's low poise, because not only does the Longhorn have a very good Ash of War, it also does extremely high poise damage. And so to capitalize on this, I decided to pick up the Axe Talisman and Godfrey's Icon Talisman. And to make my Wonders Flask a little more useful, I decided to pick up the Spiked tier and the Stone Barb tier, as well as picking up the Godskin Apostle Robe. Now, we were finally packing some heat. With all these things combined, as well as the Golden Vow incantation and the Black Flame of Protection incantation, we were packing some mad damage. And with me and the Envoy gang, we were able to consistently get him to his second phase, though I didn't last much longer than that. And after getting beaten down about 30 or 40 times, I figured it was about time to knock out some of the lower bosses that could just help me level up. With these guys down, I came back to Maliketh, and nothing changed. So, how are we going to beat this guy? Am I just gonna have to give up? Was all this time wasted? Am I actually not going to be able to beat this game? Well, there was actually one more trick that I had been saving for this entire time. Mimic Tier! That's right, baby. You already know the Mimic Tier is going to be able to save me. Because screw getting better at the game. I'll do that in a later run. I'm not here to get good at the game. I'm here to freaking beat it. So, after picking up the Mimic Tier, leveling it up a little bit, was this enough to beat Maliketh? Well, yeah, obviously it was enough. Have you seen the Mimic Tier? This dude's busted. Though, after leveling the Mimic Tier to level 10, it did still take us like 5 or 6 tries to get him down. Maliketh was done, baby. Took me long enough. And after feeling like the true Elden Lord, it was Godfrey time. And boy, this dude was easy.
Upon my name as Godfrey, the first Elden Lord.
Me and my little bubble buddy knocked this dude out in 4 tries. Lickety split. Next up, Rahdan and the Elden Beast. And unfortunately, this guy also gave me trouble. To the point where not even the Mimic Tier could help me. Rahdan knew what was up. He knew the second I spawned my Mimic in, that guy was donezo. He bullied my Mimic Tier more than Maliketh bullied me. With Rahdan and the Elden Beast both having an extremely high resistance to holy damage, and Rahdan bullying my Mimic Tier the second I spawned him in, it made for a very hard fight. Kind of on a whim, I decided to equip the Tree heal. And while I didn't really know it at the time, this is the single spell that saved this boss fight. At some point, my Mimic Tier opened his third eye and started using the Tree heal to the max. Not only did I forget that my Mimic could use incantations that I had equipped, I didn't realize the Tree healed both me and him. And with the Tree's power vested in both of us, it was time to take them to Bubble Pound Town.
Why are you running? No! 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 Fuck! Shit! Yo!
In our home, across the fog, the lands between. our seed will look back upon us and recall an age of fracture.